Today I have the honor of interviewing TzariZM, a dope producer and MC. He recently dropped a brand new album called O.T.H.E.R. He's also produced for many hip-hop heavyweights, such as Planet Asia, Ninth Prince of Killarmy, Apathy, Celph Titled, and many more. We're gonna go ahead and bring him in and talk to him about his career, his production, and his dope new album. Peace, everybody. Today we're interviewing TzariZM and we're bringing him in. What's up, my bro? I see you right there. I'm gonna send you an invite.
Peace.
Peace. Thank you, my bro. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you on.
Thank you.
Man, okay, so I don't even know where to start. You know, I know how I normally have my format, but I just need to get something off my chest first, right? How can somebody be so dope on the mic, right? And not release like the album you just released, you know what I'm saying? Like not just be dropping them because you're so dope. Your lyrics are so, I mean, listen, I understand you're a dope producer, right? I understand cats are probably hitting you up for beats, but man, you come at it.
I appreciate that, man. Kind words, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And man, it's just, you know, it's just this. That's just how it be. I've had some zigzags through my life, and certain demands for this and that, and something built up, and it was ready. It was ready to be released for sure.
Yeah, man. It feels like I mean, and it's so rich. The new album O.T.H.E.R. is so rich. It's a large album.
Yeah.
It's a massive body of work, and everything is dope. I want to unpack that properly. But what I always love to do is, you know, since we have the creative, we have you right here. I always love unpacking like how you got involved in music, the early part of your career, how you fell in love with hip hop, and then we work our way up, and then we're gonna get into this masterpiece that you just dropped a couple months ago. So tell us about your journey in music, you know, how you fell in love with music, how you fell in love with hip hop.
Got you. Absolutely. I would have to say first it started with, you know, the circumstances and situation with my parents, right? You know, but they're both big music heads, my mother and my father. My mother is from Guyana, in South America. And my father was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. So, you know, a lot of roots there in music, heavy. And my mother was just a big fan of music. She was always, it's been part of her life and her family as well. So it's just kind of already there in the DNA on that sense. And I can't remember music not being part of the situation as a kid. You know, my father had, you know, had collection of vinyl records that were like, we couldn't touch when we were little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but once we got like a little older and we got some record players and we just messed around, you know, of course that was the first digging in the crates situation. But yeah, like, so, you know, I grew up mostly in Memphis, Tennessee, where my father lived, and My father predominantly raised us. When I say us, I mean myself and my younger brother, James, who goes by I Make Mad Beats. So, you know, dope producer and extraordinaire on his own in his own right. But we grew up together in Memphis, and my parents split when I was about 5. So my mom went to the north, like northeast area. She lived back and forth between like DC and New York. So so every summer we would visit her in the north while I was living in the south. So a lot of people wonder, like, how does someone from Memphis get a sound like I have? And that's really what happened. Like, if I was just in Memphis and never made those trips, I doubt it would be this way. So so it built. So you know, I don't regret it. Like, it built character. It built me ultimately, and my brother and us. So that's kind of where it started. But in Memphis, that's where I got my angst or whatever to want to just rap. Like, so it started with rapping. Like, I wanted to just rap. I would freestyle. I would do whatever. Like, since I was like 11, 12 years old.
Wow.
And so getting into high school, you know, I met some of my childhood friends, my homies. Shout out to my man Phantom Shinobi and my man Mave Boy. Those dudes I grew up with through high school, and they both rapped, and we all, you know, it was kind of like we started our own crew called the Strangers.
Wow.
And my younger brother was part of that crew too, and so that was like the squad, and we called ourselves the Strangers because living in Memphis, the type of style of music we were into was not really you know, pop, you know. In fact, we get made fun of, like, you know what I'm saying? I'll come back from New York or whatever, rocking like Tim's. And like, and like, what you wearing? Like, you know, what's going on? You're not wearing like polo shoes or something like that. So I used to come back with this full like East Coast vibe. So we and my squad, my crew, we were all about that. So we were called the Strangers, and that's really where that started. But I would say fast forward. So the picture on the album, actually, that's 1995.
Okay.
And that was a school picture, because you know you take school pictures every year, and that particular year we didn't get that picture package, but I had that proof.
You had that one.
Yeah, I had it. I've had it for years. I just, you know, stashed somewhere, and I was like, I'm gonna use this for something eventually. So I'm glad it eventually surfaced, and that's why you can see the copyright kind of across the. You'll see that.
I had the watermark.
Yeah, the watermark. Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, like, so that was really where it started. Like 95, 96, I really was like, yo, I can rap. I'm good. You know, I'd like to do more with this, but I had no beats. So
that struggle, a lot of people don't realize it now, because, you know, there's so many beat sites, YouTube, you know, producers like yourself, they got so much instrumental work out there. You had to to get original beats, you had to know somebody, or you rapped on the instrumental of a vinyl. It was a struggle.
It was super struggle. Absolutely. Like you mentioning that, it was. There's a stark difference in today. Being a rapper, getting beats than back then. So my only option was to loop tapes. So I used to, like, you know, record songs and whatever I heard on the radio and dub them on tape, you know.
Wow.
Until I could until I get, and I would just rap over other people's instrumentals. That was my only way. I would make full-on albums on cassettes over other people's instrumentals.
Wow.
And most of them were freestyle songs. And then I would drag my brother on some of them songs, and he was like, yo, but I'll force him, and he'll get on the songs too, because I needed somebody to like go back and forth with or whatever. But those were fun times. But my cousin, I have a cousin, older cousin, about a year older than me, that lived in Florida, but he's actually a transplant from Toronto.
Okay.
And so my brother, we visited our mother for a holiday season, and we came up in his room, and he got this computer with some stuff going on, and he's playing some music. And we're like, what's going on here? He's like, oh yeah, I'm making some beats. Ding. So, you know, like that was it right there. We was like, all right, teach us, let us know. So he showed us the software. Shout out to my cousin O.T.H.E.R. He showed us the software. And at that point, all I knew was I needed to start raising money to buy this for myself and buy a keyboard and start doing it. So short of like 6 or 7 months, I eventually had the money and I bought the software and I started making beats. So that was 1997. Yeah,
wow.
1997. Yeah.
What was that first software you started making beats on?
Yo, it don't even exist anymore, but it was called it was a company called O.T.H.E.R. And the app was called Digital Orchestrator Plus, right?
Wow.
It's a fully MIDI composing software. And I'll be straight up with you. The way that we use that software was probably not how it was meant to be.
Right,
right. We ran through that. We did all types of stuff with it. I don't think they would have expected the type of sound that came out of that. We killed that software. We maximized it. We became masters at it within like a few years, the most. You know what I'm saying? So it was that was good times back then.
And did you like, because you know, you like when you first started, you loved music, but then you needed beats to rap on. It was hard to get beats. Started probably digging through some of Pop's records and just getting your own stuff.
Yeah.
Did you start producing for other people around that time?
Around then, no, because I didn't know nothing about the game or nothing. Like my only focus was to make beats for my crew and myself. Like, and so when we got to that point, we were successful in doing that. So I'll tell you the transition where things went to other people was when I left Memphis. I left Memphis after I graduated from high school and went to move to Orlando, Florida to live with my mom. And that was the culture shock. That was the change in my life there. Like, because those are two different atmospheres, Memphis and Orlando. It was like eye-opening. Like, so, you know, so I'm hungry. Like, this is an 18, 19-year-old moving to Florida. I'm hungry. So I'm looking for anything, right? You know, so we hitting down and I'm finding out there's a scene out here and I'm like, word. And I'm letting people eventually, I'm making connects where we start playing music for each other and they're like, yo, you got some dope stuff, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, man, thanks. So collaborations started to happen with the scene. And I got heavy into the battle scene. That was
because you were like a battle rapper, right? You were like, first you were like a battle rapper.
Yeah. I was heavy on the battles. Like if there was an open mic somewhere, I was there. Shout out to my partner, my first, one of the homies that's one of my lifetime brothers right now, Rugged. We met each other like maybe the first week of community college when after I graduated and came to Florida, and he was a sick rapper, and we were doing a little cipher, and we were at the end like, yo, you dope too. What up? And then we just started kicking it. But me and him, we called ourselves the Battle Cats. So we used to go to all the open mic sessions, all the battles, and you know, kill stuff, man. If I didn't got second place, that was just really what it came down to. Everything. Wow. So that's where it started. Yeah. So it started with the battles, but I wanted to make songs. So I definitely kept a focus on that, and you know, it led to collaboration. People really just drawing attention. People wanting to collab and do stuff. So some of my best friends today are those same exact people that I collaborated with, you know, when I first moved to Florida.
Wow.
So it's incredible. It's incredible looking back at how it all happened. Yeah. Yeah,
it's real interesting too, because you've had, you know, Memphis and then kind of going to New York and DC. And then Florida's interesting, like Orlando, Miami, because Florida's its own thing and they've got that big Caribbean influence. But there's a New York connection with Florida. Orlando's got like a lot of people retiring and going there. Miami too, right? It's like you don't get that in Atlanta. It's funny, like it skipped over that part of the South. Florida's got this New York connect, which, you know, coming over and having that New York influence and spending summers out there and that being your type of hip hop, you plugged right in to that boom bap sound. Yeah.
100%. I was having a conversation about that. and there's a lot of New York transplants here in Florida, and then vice versa. Florida transplants in New York. And my summers in New York, I met so many people that either came from Florida or they got summer vacations in Florida, you know, back and forth. Definitely a heavy connect and influence from New York and Florida back and forth, 100%.
Yeah.
And so it felt natural when I got there. Like, I didn't feel like I was out of place or anything like that. Which was,
you weren't a stranger anymore. You weren't a stranger anymore.
Yeah, no, that's true. I fit right in, and just I ran with it, man. I ran with it. So yeah.
Oh man, that's dope. So at what point, you know, do you start getting, because you know you were heavy on the battle rap scene. You've been producing. You had a supportive family, a dope younger brother who like was along with you and then kept going doing his thing also.
Yeah.
At what point do you start, you know, working on songs and releasing more like 12-inch singles, album, and collaborating in a more professional way?
Yeah, so that's fast forward, you know, so I was in the scene for a few years, like starting in 99 in Orlando, going to the open mics and all that stuff. I met a lot of people. And one particular individual I have to give credit to is his name was Dwayne, but he goes by Cautious. And this was a dude that was a student at UCF, but he was one of the head, if not the president, he was one of the head people for a hip hop club at UCF called the Elements. And they would throw shows on the campus and events and stuff like that. And he approached me about doing stuff. He had a label through that organization that he was interested in making music. So we started talking and building, and you know, we eventually just built a good relationship. I started to be part of those events that he was throwing. Yeah. So I ended up, and it kind of actually pushed me to become, I was hosting those events with him. So we ended up being a partner with a lot of the stuff that we were doing. A show called the Hip Hop Underground Safe Haven. It was Hush for short. And that show was thrown every Monday on UCF's campus, and it was open, you know, it was family friendly. So there was teenagers there, and they would come and they can be on the open mic. We'd have DJs playing instrumentals. It was a great vibe. So myself, my brother, and we used to host it with a couple of other individuals. And that's kind of, so that was those were the seeds. Once we built that space, once we built the fan base and stuff like that, then we just started kind of like doing a song too here or there, and he wanted to release some songs that I already had recorded. And so he was down to put out a vinyl single. So we dropped what would be my first vinyl release ever. It was called, the title of the song was called Ah Ha 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 Ha. And the other side was a song called Shima, which was a story about an ex-girlfriend, right? So those songs ended up being big favorites in the local scene. So I figured it was only right that would be the first single. So so we dropped it, got a great reception from it. Like I said, we had a platform, so it was good. It was well promoted, right, in Orlando. Eventually it felt like we got to do more. So I was like, all right, we got to get in album mode. So so over the course of the next year and a half, I started working on an album called Dirty Work. Yeah. And that would be my solo album I would ever release, eventually in 2003. And that's, you talk about a packed album as far as other. That album was 80 minutes. I think I got it to as much as I could put on a CD. Right. 80 minutes.
A CD is like 80 minutes. A CD is 80 minutes. It's like 77 or something like that, right?
Yeah, I was like, I have to pack this CD. So it was like 27 songs in there, you know, interludes and stuff too, but it was a full album. And that was the hungriest like czar you would have ever known was back then. So it was a good one, really good one. I got a lot of great reception. That album actually blew me up more than just Orlando. It started, the rest of the region started noticing. Yeah. I started getting shows up in Atlanta. I started traveling to Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa, which opened up a whole new portal of things. So that's really when it started, was right around 2002, 2003 is when it got real serious. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
for
dope,
sure.
man.
Yeah.
So you share so much there, and I want to unpack a little bit of it.
Sure.
I want to make sure that we give a little bit of thought to Hush, right? Because I love things like that, right? Because when you listen to people's stories, there was normally some sort of space,
Yeah.
right, or group or crew, somebody's basement, a supportive something that gave a space where it happened. And for you guys, that was at UCF, at Hush, and you guys had a team, and that turned into, well, you were killing it already on the battle scene. So you were basically the dopest, or on the very short list of dopest MCs in Orlando. So when this space is created and you start participating in it, you brought that, how would you say, like that authority, like that, like this is official. I'm here. I'm the dude,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the host, and this is like, this is for real.
Exactly.
I'm curious, do you know if any other talent came out of that space other than yourself and your brother?
Oh, absolutely. It was a breeding ground. So you got myself, my brother. There were multiple DJs they're doing their thing right now. My man DJ Dolo 76. Shout out to my man DJ Sharp. Those are great producers as well. The battle scene, you had rappers like Johnny Storm. If you know anything about like Grind Time Now, Battle League, there was a lot of great rappers that came out of that. And Grind Time Now was, I would say that Hush was one of the reasons Grind Time Now even exists, to be honest. Because you had Johnny Storm, you had Matt Ills, if you ever heard of him. You've had a lot of other rappers. There's another rapper who is more than a rapper to me now. He's my brother, and that's Midas the Beast. If you ever heard of him, you gotta check him out.
You've done a lot of work. I heard him listening to your whole discography.
Oh yeah. You definitely, if you listen to my music, you know of him. But that dude is a monster, and he started there too. He used to go there when he was like 16 years old to come to the open mics. He and Johnny Storm and a few others had a crew together, so they used to come all the time. And he hooked up because of that connection, because of that show. He had a platform just like the rest of them.
Yeah.
Shout out to other rappers out there. My man Shinobi Stalin. These are all worth guys worth checking out. That really were part of the scene. So yeah, my man Midas started buying beats from my brother. So they connected, and they ended up making an album together called Tales of Suspense as a duo called Blackout, which would end up being the second act that was put out after my album release. So we just became family. Like a lot of them that came out of that situation, we just became family. Like a lot of them are still cultivating the culture around here and doing their thing pretty heavy. So it was awesome. It was awesome to be a part of that beginning stage for a lot of people, not just myself, but for a lot of people. And when they see me around and about, and they talk about those memories, it's cool that I was part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. So then Dirty Work comes out. We got the 12-inch vinyl, right? Which, first of all, having vinyl, even now, but back then, you're official, right? It's like you made it. Like I'm a real rapper, right? Right? It's
Yeah,
like DJs have it, they can put it on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nobody even cared if you, like, it didn't matter about how many units you sold. You made vinyl. It's like
made vinyl.
Like, yeah. That was pinnacle right there.
So, and then when you guys were like pushing Dirty Work, right? And you were in that window of time, that 12 to 24 month window of time when it was hot and it was new and it was fresh and it was your debut project. What are some of the things that you got to experience in regards to shows, maybe write-ups? Did you ever get noticed by the Source, XXL, anything like that?
Yeah. So I would say straight out the jump, within the first 6 or 7 months, it was super like a blissful punch in my face. Like, wow. Like the credibility I received, the the levels of respect jumped really high, and I wouldn't say I wasn't ready for it, but I was a little surprised, but it was very great, highly acclaimed, this and that, and all of the local outlets, were giving the album like, top 5 out of 5s and this and that, and next I'm getting invited to do shows in other places I didn't have, I didn't even have, like the reach to get, what I'm saying? I'm getting X, DJs are connecting with me. I'm being part of like other collectives, collaborating and all this stuff. So I was able to open for acts that other artists weren't able to open for, like I opened for Busta Rhymes at the House of Blues. That was a pretty big one. There was a lot of artists that I really like, say I gave respect or met. We started doing little tours. We started moving, going back and forth to Georgia a lot, making trips down to Miami. So I mean, it was, and I wanted it all, because like I was in full performance mode. So I was doing shows left and right, performing, going to, we did college tours. We would go to all of the Florida colleges, like all of them. Yeah. And like we would perform, and it would be hype, and they would love it, and we would sell merchandise, and the DJs showed us a lot of love. I met a lot of other groups and artists from those different cities that I'm still really good friends with today. So but I knew, like, to fully answer what you just said or asked was, I knew there had to be a next stage, like what would I do next? So going into 2004, because I had all this notoriety and all that, I was like, maybe I need to get into actually not just being put on shows, like invited to shows, but help actually creating shows and bringing artists that have never even been to Orlando. So the first artist I thought about doing that was, and also making music with that artist when I bring them down. And the first artist I thought about, and before I say his name, it was in 2000 or 2001. My homeboys, the same homeboys I was in the Strangers crew with, shout out to my man Phantom and my man Maeve, in their college dorm, they were playing some music, and this one song came on, and it was Planet Asia, Peanut Butter Wolf. It was a Mad Lib remix. Wow. Definition Hill. And I was like, yo, this dude is crazy. Yeah. Like, so I became an instant fan of Planet Asia. That's one of the most prolific rappers ever, in my opinion. So that always stayed back here. And years later, I was like, I'm gonna reach out to Planet Asia. I went to planetasia.com. I found his the manager's email address, sent him an email. I had no idea what was gonna happen. I was just like, I'm interested in bringing him down and blah 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 blah. Hit me up. He started talking all this stuff that I had no idea what it was about. Budget, this, that, numbers, blah blah blah. I was like, what? And I just started making up stuff. I was like, yeah. And we eventually got to a point where we're like, I would bring him down for a show, and then we did a package where he would come down for a show, and he would also lay a verse for a song. So Planet Asia never been to Orlando at that point. I don't even think Florida. So we made it happen, and it was thrown at one of the biggest venues for independent artists, right down in the core of downtown Orlando, called The Social, and it was dope. It came out really dope. I had some of my own squad be openers and this and that. Like, you the whole situation.
Show, and you knew how to do all that stuff from all the years of Hush.
Exactly. I took those elements, and my squad helped me. They were part of the situation. They were part of making it happen and making it successful. So, Planet Asia was very happy with the situation. And next thing you know, I got a new connection, but not even a new connection, a new friend. Like, we started being friends. And anytime he came to Florida or wanted to come to Florida, he was like, yo, Czar, what up? Like, he hit me up directly, and he would come, spend the night at the crib. We'll do more music. So it just started. So that was 2004. So PA and I have been almost 20 years. years. Yeah. We that's my brother right there. So,
Yeah.
so that was probably the first real experience outside of local, like, local rapper stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it opened up right at that point. A lot opened up after that point.
And we, jump around a little bit, but I think it's organic and it goes good with what you just talked about. You
Yeah.
produced the whole album for Planet Asia via satellite.
Yes, sir.
Right? That's you and him together, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that moment, what you had, the momentum you had with your career, and then you broadening out and taking, the experience you had from hosting Hush, and, you were like, I want to keep this growing. That relationship really turned into him being a lifelong collaborator, an artistic relationship that you guys created some magic on via satellite, right? And so how did that happen, right? Like, at what point did he how did it happen? Were you just like sending them beats, or, how did that specific project via satellite, which you and Planet Asia did together, how did that come about?
So, so that 2004 instance, right? Everything. So, like I said, he would come. I think the next time he showed up in Orlando was maybe a year and a half later. We did a song. We threw it on a mixtape. I did the beat. He rapped, whatever. The next time he came, I think maybe another year or two later. We did another song. So then 2007, I actually moved to New York from Florida. I was just trying to change the atmosphere, get into a different situation.
Yeah.
I was going back to school and stuff, just kind of like thinking about the future, whatever. So my mother lived in New York, so that's kind of what part of that migration. When I got there, I'm still doing music and stuff, but now I'm meeting, new people. This is New York City we talking about. So,
yeah. Where in New York were you?
So when I first moved, I was actually staying with my mother. She was staying in some pretty nice apartments up in the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Okay.
So, but I was there for maybe 4 months.
Yeah.
And then I was like, fine. So, my brother and I, and then another homie of mine named Brian, who I can't not mention him because he was someone that worked for a music library company called The Wolf, and we always kept good ties. So that's how we ended up connecting, doing licensing work for TV shows. I got a whole bunch of production credits on a lot of major TV shows and he was a big part of that. So we all became roommates, got an apartment in Brooklyn, right in the Crown, not near Crown House. Actually, it was in Clinton Hill area of Brooklyn. So it was off of Fulton Street.
Yeah.
And which is right where Biggie grew up. It was right there on that block. So we were staying right there. That's when really things was like, yeah, I'm part of this now, and I'm starting to see what's up. Like, I loved Brooklyn. Brooklyn is one of my favorite places ever. So it was right then that I was like doing music with new people, but PA was always there. And one time he came to New York, so we would kick it. And then we were like, yo, why don't we just do a project together? So this is after what, 4 or 5 years of us being homies. And it was the ultimate piece of respect that he could give me, because that told me that it wasn't just, it was a forced thing. It was like he really loved my music, So that's when that whole idea, like, I was like, okay, so that's another level of serious now. Now we're doing a whole album or EP or whatever it was. So so that's where it started. At that time, I had a couple of projects I released through Domination Recordings, which was a label ran by DJ Fisher. And we did a couple of joints, and we decided to try to collaborate and start on that album. So very loosely, we just started doing songs. We didn't want to force nothing, so it was organic. Like, I was doing beats. He would be like, yeah, I like that one right there. Hold that one for me, blah, blah, blah. And but it wasn't until 2010, so 2010, when I decided to move back to Florida, because I got tired of the winters in New York. I was like, I'm warm-blooded forever now, so I had to come back. So I came back, and the a few months after I moved back, I had PA come down. He flew down.
Yeah.
And he stayed there for a whole week, and we just started lacing, knocking out joints. Like we was in the double digits, knocking out joints.
Wow.
And I introduced him, more formally introduced him to Midas the Beast, my brother Midas the Beast.
Yeah.
So now they have a relationship that is formed on their own.
Yeah.
They got a whole album out. I got a few joints on that. Look for that. It's gonna be crazy. So that was a great time because all of us really got to connect. Midas was basically there. He was like my sidekick through the whole recording of the project and just being there. So that was a great time. So that was 2010, and we did a few more joints over the next year or two. We had no dates for it. We just like, let's do it.
Yeah.
But
you're making good music.
Yeah, just making good music. And then he came in 2000, was it 20? It wasn't until 2013, actually. He came down again, and then that's when we knocked out like another 10 joints.
Yeah.
And then we started picking songs. We're like, all right, let's do this. Let's this more. So we were able to release the album in 2014. And like I said, that was another level, that of notoriety that I got. So I'm very blessed to have had that, still have that relationship with him, and for him to trust me to do a full album with him, for sure.
Yeah. That's dope, man. Thank you for sharing all those details. You know what I mean? When people listen to this and then they go listen to that album, it adds a whole other dimension to it.
Yeah. True. I probably should go to it now.
Yeah. You're like, oh yeah, take you on the path down memory lane. Yeah. You mentioned how when you were in New York and with your brother and the roommate and how you guys did some publishing, you did music work for different TV shows and film. Is there anything that like any show that people might recognize that you added a jingle or something to?
Yeah. At the time, I had music on the Real World show. I had music on ABC's Dancing with the Stars. I had music on True something on a whole bunch of shows on MTV. I'm sorry, like I know it sounds like dang, like you get, but I can't remember all the like. I
have so many I can't remember. hey, brother, those are good problems to have. You know what I'm saying?
Right. At the time, all I cared about was those checks coming in.
Absolutely.
Because that was my livelihood. I was living off those checks in New York City. So that was what I could say. It was during that time I was able to live off of music really heavy. So, but yeah, tons of MTV shows, some VH1 shows, some DVD collections like in living color. Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. But those some of those initial ones are probably the more popular ones. NFL, I was on some NFL broadcasts. They played my music in the background while like one of the sportscasters were talking and stuff like that. A lot of stuff. So yeah.
That's dope, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And your production is so dope because it's like, it's not just like you went and sampled James Brown or Barry White or, Bill Withers, you know what I'm saying, and like looped it. Nah, it's chopped, syncopated, you're digging, or it's just organically produced. And it's like, you can really hear that this is a student, you're like a beat scientist, like, you know what I mean? Like you have your instrumental album out, Drum Major. Dude, that thing's a masterpiece. That's a masterpiece. I mean, truly like, wow.
Thank you.
I love production. I love beats. I've got a record collection. I could tell when somebody's got gems up in there that like people can't find, or that you flipped it in a way that nobody can recognize it ever. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. Yeah. Do you still do any like musical libraries? Do you still do any music work for film or TV?
Yeah, I still got music out there. Was it about a year ago? I put a whole new slew of like sample-free instrumentals and stuff. So I still get checks. that pop up, and with this and that, and you know, I'll see this pop up, that pop up, like, oh, that's cool, and or this in Europe is playing in Europe somewhere. So yeah, it's still there.
And then like,
yeah, you know, little sprinkles. So you know, it's still there. That hasn't been my full focus of recent. This album really took, like, I had to really focus in to get it out, because that's just the way my brain is wired. I have to kind of drop some things and be like, this is it. Like,
yeah,
there were people asking for, you know, and I was just like, I can't right now. Like, I need to make sure that I have this music done and everything's put into it. And then once it's done, I'm good. Like, a week or so, you know, like, I just had a vacation with the family in DR. So, you know, I'm ready to get back into the mix. So
that's dope, man. That's dope. And yeah, I think that's you have to. I think people need to learn themselves, right? We're all different, and whatever your idiosyncrasies are, roll with it. If you're kind of a multitasker and you got lots of half-finished things and that's how you do it, do it. If you need to finish something and knock it out, figure yourself out, and then, you know, do it like crazy. So, and you released an amazing album. You know what I'm saying? Before we jump into the new album, which is hot off the presses, I mean, it's about a month and some change old. I did want to ask you about one of your older projects that is just, the cover's dope, the production on it's dope. This is an older project. This is the Beats to the Future, right? Thanks, Jay. Okay, well, who did the cover?
I did it.
That's so dope.
Yeah. I used Photoshop, threw my face right on there, and you know, I had like some different versions. I remember going to my man Conscious and my squad, like, and they would tell me if it looked real or not, and I would just go back and work it until I got it right. So that's kind of, I learned how to use Photoshop on my own, like, back then. So, and what's funny is I have a bachelor's degree in digital arts and design now. So that's where it was from, that stuff. So,
wow.
But Back to the Future is my favorite movie of all time. So
it's a classic.
It's a classic. So
perfect movie. I know exactly what you mean. You watch that movie from beginning. It is like the pop song of movies. It is the perfect, you know, like if you look at a pop song, it's 3 minutes, 30 seconds. It has a bridge right here, a little intro. It's got it starts with the chorus. You know, like a pop song, right?
Yes.
Back to the Future is the perfect movie. I love that movie.
That's one of the best ways I've ever heard it described. That is perfect. Like, and the movie's perfect to me. So, you know, I've nicknamed myself TZ McFly throughout the years.
I love that.
Yeah, like, I've been in, like, whatever it was, whether I think if you remember, like, some of those social sites before social media, there was like Black Planet, Hente.com, or my name was like TZ McFly, like Czar McFly or whatever. Like, I love everything about the movie and all of the movies, but I wanted to do a project that was a remix project, but different, like because people put out albums of just remixing songs all the time. So I wanted to mix a little bit of the past with the present. So you know, if you listen to the album, there are songs where there are actual new verses on the songs, not just the songs, but, like, for instance, one of the songs was the Common and High-Tech or Common song called 1999, right? With Ali, I believe, right? Yeah. And my brother, I Make Mad Beats, and myself decided to drop our own verses on it to complement it and add to it. So I would have all my homies drop it. Midas was on it. I had verses from my homie Vice Major, who's on an album I produced called The Heart and Brain. I had my homie Surreal. I had all my homies, just my homies. Like, and I had people that I did collaborations with do some drops, like my man Q Unique from The Arsonist. Fonte from Little Brother. You know, just dropping, you know, I just threw it all together, and I made it like a story that I'm in this DeLorean traveling from year to year, and someone from the present is with me, you know, along for the ride. So that was a special project that I really love. Like that's that's one of my personal favorite projects I've ever done.
The dope project, and I you know, I think that the main event, we're about to enter the main event, right? We're getting through the undercard. The main event is the magnum opus you just dropped. But I think we needed to mention, you know, Beats to the Future. You know what I'm saying? It's a really, really cool project that, you know, stands the test of time. Right, here we are years later, and it's a dope project. You know, so we're talking about the new album you just dropped called Other, available on digital streaming platforms everywhere. There's a limited edition physical media also, right? So people can hit you up. If people want to get the physical media, how do they go about doing that?
If you want the physical CD, you can go to TzariZM.com. All the links are there. You can go to my Bandcamp if you want directly, TzariZM.bandcamp.com. And those are probably the two ways you can get the CD. I did a limited run because I didn't. You know, CDs, I don't know if people rock with CDs like that heavy, but it's hilarious that I did that and everybody's asking for the CD. So, you know, you can't win.
That's exactly right.
So, I am running low on those actually. So if you want one, you should grab one as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Now, Other is an acronym. Can you tell us what it stands for?
Other is an acronym for Over Time He Earns Respect. And, you know, it could be a lot to unpack in that title because a lot of it is more so more internal for me. Like, I know more about the weight of it than anybody else will probably know. But if I were to kind of really break it down, it's really an ode to an individual that has had a journey, a great journey, but in some aspects feels he doesn't get all of the respect he deserves, right? But ultimately, the reason why is because that individual may not give themselves that much respect, or all of the respect that they deserve. And that's just a level of maturity, to me. I think that's something that a journey that everybody has to go through, that there are some years early in the game or early in your journey, whatever it is you're doing, that you may not know your worth. You may not know what it takes to do something, but at some point you have to come to for you to have the full happiness effect. You have to come to a point where you know yourself more and you give yourself the respect you deserve, know your worth, and all those good things that make you healthy up here and inside your heart. You know what I mean? So
that's dope.
That's the way I would probably explain it. Whatever. Now, as far as the inside innuendos, so Dirty Work, right? 2003. The sequel was supposed to be called Overtime, right? So Overtime was supposed to drop in 2004. I never put it out. Why? Because I'm stupid, right? So I didn't, you know, I slept on myself and I got caught. Well, I don't say I get caught up, but I started really jumping into the producer side of things. I started really wanting to craft my beats more better. Like, you know, my brother and I really grew up making beats back and forth, and like, not that it was a competition, but it was like we were brothers and we're close. We're like a year and a half apart from each other. And so everything was kind of competitive as a kid. Even
iron sharpens iron.
Exactly. And that's kind of really what happened. And I really wanted to really hone in on my craft as a producer. And those mid to 2000, late 2000 years, I really did like dig into producing more than rapping. And I kind of put rapping on the side. I did it just to do it. I did it because I know I can. And I did it with my squad, my crew, my family, but I didn't really put out too much music as a rapper. So Overtime He Earns Respect is in a way that it's that sequel that never came out in Overtime, but more mature now. So that's
there
really
songs like that were gonna be Overtime, you know, that album Overtime, that have never been.
No, I mean not on this album. Like, because you know, today those songs are not mixed well.
Yeah.
You know, like they were just older songs, and my voice probably changed and stuff.
Yeah.
So
So those songs have never been like to the general public. They haven't been heard.
nope. There was a song in there. I got a beat from Juju from the Beat Nuts. Never. I had a song with Planet Asia that I released locally, but never like nationally released. I had there was some joints in there. There was definitely some joints. But you know, I just life got into it. I wasn't mature enough to really handle everything. All the stuff I was telling you I was doing, like I said, my brain is not really the way it's wired to do all of these things at the same time, and I was definitely not there to do that. So
Yeah.
so it just happened that that's just what happened.
Yeah.
You know.
I think one of the things that happens also like in life is when you're younger, you don't realize how fast time goes, right?
Yeah.
And then like, you know, you get a little bit older and you're like, I'm gonna get shit done, right? Like I'm not gonna wait. You know, you blink.
Yeah.
Like the pandemic was like 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like you blink and like things are moving and lapses of time. You're like, well, how is this album that I was just listening to already 2 years old? That joint is still fresh to me. Like time is just moving, right? How did that movie come out 2 years ago? That I remember, you know, it doesn't feel, time starts to feel different. So you go about things in a different way. And when you're younger, you don't get that. And a summer turns into a summer and a winter, turns into 3 summers. Next thing you know, you're doing other stuff because it's dated and you have to kind of accept things and keep going. You know what I'm saying? But that's, you know, so yeah.
How it is.
Other is a dope project, and there's so many bangers on there, right? I was listening to, because, you know, like whenever I do the promo for an interview, I connect music to it, the countdown ticker, the flyer, different things. I'm adding music. So I'm trying to select what songs, you know, and the songs I select, I always select the joint I think is dope. Like it might not be the single that somebody's pushing. Like I'm going through your discography and I'm looking for joints, right? Dude, you have so many bangers, such dope production, different production, really different sounds, beats and video game sounds and drums, and like I'm like, dude, this dude is insane, right? I wound up going and I just listened to it over and over again. Your joint Shanghai. I think that you know, for me is like one of those joints that you gotta be a hip hop head to like. It starts and you just start going. It just you don't even you just like I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you had to like direct, because the album's got, what is it, 17, 18 tracks on it?
Yeah, total is 17, I think. Yeah. I think it's total.
If you had to, and the whole album is incredibly dope, but if somebody just, you know, listening to this and you needed to tell them, look, go listen to these few joints if you wanted, you know, to get the vibe, right? As the producer, as the artist, you know what I'm saying? What are some joints you might direct them to that they could just right from here go and listen to those and be like, oh man, I need to put this right into my workout playlist or something. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. It's tough, but one of them is definitely Shanghai though. And I actually, the video is gonna be released soon for that song. Yeah, so Shanghai is that's my whip song. That's my I'm in the whip. Like, yeah, I love that song in the whip. So that's one of them. Probably Nah, because it's the very first song on the album. It's a good representation of like my energy, right? Like my energy as that raw dude that just want to go at it. That's for sure. And we're talking about like playlists for working out. I can't really talk about any songs that with less energy. Although I feel like the album is full of energy. But yeah. So we got Shanghai, Nah. Probably one of my personal favorites is Thorough. I like Thorough. Well, like, yeah, that's one of my personal favorites. Humble No Mo, which is close to the end of the album. That's a hard one. And Know What Time It Is, which was a single. So with the crazy drums and Like, I love that song. And so, I mean, that list could change, but those are the ones I think of right now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You got another joint I'm gonna add on there, that a song that you have that I like a lot called Respect.
Yeah, Respect is that's my guys there. Shout out to my man Critical, my man Little Vic. Little Vic, he rapped on it, and he also produced a song on the album called Radios, which is with Midas and myself on it. That dude is a crazy double threat, like on the beats and the raps, little monster. And my man Critical is someone that I've been brothers with in this music stuff and in life since the Hush days, that show that we used to throw UCF. So actually even before that, actually, now that I think about it, but we were roommates in Brooklyn together too. We lived together for a couple of years and made a lot of music. We made a project together which is on my Bandcamp right now, and called Close to Home. So Respect is dope because I mean it's a word out of the acronym of the song, right? I mean of the album, right? And for me it was a song because I respect these two dudes and their craft so much that it was respect that all three of us were on a song together. You know what I mean? So that's for sure.
Dope, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's dope. Everybody be sure to check out Other, the new album released about 2 months ago. You had the album release. You had the album release like last month. It's like a month almost to the date, right? Ooh.
There we go.
There.
We had the I wish I could post it on somewhere, but we had a release party locally, at one of my favorite spots called the Commission Beer Chamber.
Yeah.
Who's my man Benny. The owner of that spot is like a super hip hop head. He's from Staten, and so we rocked it out. My man Midas rocked it. My homie Jay Biz and another producer I respect from the local scene named Abbott. And then my cousin O.T.H.E.R. Like we all rocked it out and had a good time. Sold some merch and just kicked it, and it was a great time. That was on the 27th. May 27th, which was actually the day right before my wife's birthday. so we had a lot of celebrations going on. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was heavy,
man. That's beautiful. I commend you on an incredible new project, man.
Thank you.
And don't stop rapping, dude. And you're an incredible producer, but you're a dope MC.
Thank you,
dope MC. Truly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, bro.
From the reception, so I won't stop. The mic is always going to be there. I'll be dropping more.
Dope. Dope. As we start to wrap up, I want to end on a more lighter note. You know what I'm saying? So you have, if anybody spends some time on your Instagram, if they spend some time really digging through, they'll find things like a project you have out called Logan X. It's apparent that you love Wolverine. You know what I'm saying? You love comic books and everything. Talk to us a little bit about your love of Wolverine and X-Men and what that role played in your childhood and even now as an adult.
Yeah, I'm Wolverine to the death. Just put it that way.
Yeah.
Like I got this. If you saw the rest of my room, all types of stuff. But this is one of my little pieces here. My wife gave me this for Christmas one year. But I'm Logan. Like Wolverine is the greatest superhero of all time. I grew up on mostly Marvel comics. I read all comic books though, from DC, eventually Image Comics and all those things. So, but X-Men was always my favorite go-to. So I know all the stories from those earlier years, from the 70s, 80s, going into the 90s, and then beyond. It's been a minute since I've been in a comic shop, probably over a year, but I was pretty consistent all the way, even up through my adulthood, keeping up with comic book stories. So Wolverine is like if I can't lie and not say that his demeanor or his whole characteristics like are part of like what make me add the energy I do into the music. Like,
Yeah.
I'll feel like Wolverine making the beat. Like I'm on my drum machine, like, like gotta go hard, like so so a lot of people definitely coincide me with Wolverine. A lot of my closest friends and folks around me know never to disrespect him around me, because then they'll be is that serious? He's the greatest. But Wolverine is like I just love the energy of I love what he represents. He's an anti-hero, wants to do great and good. It ain't bad to have a healing factor, and some claws that come out and can cut through almost pretty much everything.
A little adamantium skeleton never hurt nobody.
Don't hurt nobody. I mean, it hurt him when he got it bonded on him, but that was it. That was it. He's good, but he's good. So like I through the years I will do something and throw Wolverine in the mix, whether it's the theme or something like that. I've made so many beats with something related to either a Wolverine story or a character or whatever. On the low, my man Midas the Beast and I actually did a whole project called Logan versus Victor, which is, Victor being Sabretooth. He played Sabretooth, I played Logan, and we rap in like as if we're in character. It's actually a dope project. No, but it's gonna be released. Like we always like, yo, we're gonna put this out. So we just gotta put it out. We just gotta put it out. So
I can imagine the artwork for the cover.
Oh yeah. It's gonna. I mean, it's got to be in the vein of a comic book style, right? So, but it's serious with that stuff, and Midas. That's where we A-alikes, man. We big on comic books. We big on all that stuff. We play video games a lot, so I grew up on all that stuff. So
that's
part of my
life.
life.
Yeah. Nowadays, there's so many Wolverine movies. There's all the X-Men movies. Falling in love with Wolverine and those characters when they were just in the comic books, right? And reading all the stories, right? That I think that's, and then later on they came into movies, and the movies have been dope. They haven't failed, right?
Right.
But falling in love with them in comic books, and then later for it to become a more mainstream thing, I think that's a special experience. You know what I'm saying? What my favorite Wolverine was, and I still got the book to this day, was I think it was the 8th annual Captain America, which was Captain America versus Wolverine.
Oh, I know the cover. I already know.
Todd McFarlane. That's the Todd McFarlane.
My favorite. Yeah. McFarlane's one of my favorite.
He had that adamantium shield.
Yeah.
And Wolverine had
rough.
Yeah.
That was a great story.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Artwork.
Yeah.
Beat that. I'm gonna add on to what you just said. That's actually a big part of, like, no one could tell me, if you know me, like, no one could tell me I was like a bandwagon Wolverine fan. Like, I was there from like as far as I can remember. I was 8 years old when I was introduced to the X-Men comic books, and I haven't turned back since. So when I started seeing Wolverine become a character bigger than life, I was like, hey man, y'all late, man.
Y'all late.
Y'all late.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Y'all late to Wolverine. Y'all late to hip hop. Y'all late. I've been doing all this.
Right.
That's dope, man.
That's what's
up. TzariZM, my brother. You put together an incredible album. I salute you on that. I can't wait to keep pumping it. You know what I'm saying? I wish I wish this project and you as a producer and MC all the success.
Thank you, man.
You know what I'm saying? And it's truly a dope project. And I can't wait to see what else you got coming down the pipe. All the production you've done for people like Wordsworth, Apathy, Celph Titled, Planet Asia. Come on. You know what I'm saying? So don't stop, my brother. You're doing incredible work. I commend you on that.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on your platform, and I appreciate just your lending your ear to the album and the music and really listening. So I appreciate that, man. Thank you for having me. Absolutely, man.
Absolutely, my brother.
Yeah.
All right, my man.
All right, man.
Peace.
Luke, thank you.